Hey guys, Trey Bender here with Program Stories, and today I'm here with Angela. And Angela, you were a former staff member at Carolina Springs Academy, weren't you?
I was.
Wow. So I want to dive right into this. How did you fall into something like that, and when did you do it? Like what years?
2008, 2009, 2010,
Okay.
around that. The years I'm not really specific. I think it was 2008 to 2009. The way I fell into it was that I was looking for a job.
Okay.
I'd been laid off. I was looking for a job. I went to one of the local convenience stores. I was talking to the owner, and he said, I said, do you know anybody that's hiring? And he said, I need flexible hours because I was taking care of my disabled husband and my autistic son. He said, yeah, as a matter of fact, and he yelled over to a guy, and he said, are y'all hiring? And he said, yeah, just send her over, down to Carolina Springs Academy and put in an application.
Wow.
Okay?
So you went down there and put in the application?
I did.
And what happened from there? From that point?
I got a call from Wanda Waddell.
Okay.
And she gave me the interview. And, I told her up front, I said, I don't know if it will show up on a background check or not. I said, but just letting you know, I had spent a weekend in jail for bounce checks.
Really?
Paid the checks off, went in on a Friday. I went in because the judge wanted to go hunting early the next morning, so he just went ahead and closed court, and the rest of us got sent to the cell for the weekend. Got out that Monday night, paid all the checks off, never had a problem with the law before or since then.
Gotcha.
And she said, okay, thank you for being honest about it. She said, let me to give you an example or explain what this place is for.
Okay.
And I said, okay. She said, it's troubled teens. She said, they pretty much have 1 foot on a banana peel and 1 foot in a prison cell.
So the lady who hired you was telling you this about the children that were going to the school there?
Yes.
That they had 1 foot in a prison cell?
Yes.
And what was your first reaction when you heard this?
My first reaction was the next question that came out of my mind, or out of my mouth.
Yes.
What kind of training do I need? She said, you don't need any.
You were told that you needed no training to work
No
with
training whatsoever. No training. I said, well, my mother-in-law worked for the women's prison in Greenwood, so, I would assume that I would need some kind of training. She said, you're just going to be chaperoning the girls, from the dorms to the cafeteria to school, back to the dorms. She said sometimes you'll be sitting with them at night while they're asleep, to make sure that nobody leaves that's not authorized to leave.
Really?
Okay, that's it.
So, after being told this and your first day of work, what was that like?
Well, I was told to meet Miss Teresa at the front office.
Okay.
And that's where I met her. She walked me up to the dorms. She said, we're going to the girls' dorms. I'm going to show you, around. And I said, okay. Well, when she said dorms, I was thinking like a college dorm,
Yeah.
2 beds for every room, lots of, and, I saw the house and it was fairly large. And I was like, okay, well, this is kind of cool. I walked in and it's wall to wall to wall to wall to wall to wall bunk beds like a military barracks.
Really?
And I said, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into?
Really?
And I was just like, I kept thinking to myself, just be cool. It's okay. Just remember, you've got to be here. You need the job, So I got home, went and looked up on the computer the organization, and then I saw.
So you saw all the closures and other schools that had been shut down, and you realized right then and there, I work at this company.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? And then I started thinking about my childhood.
Yes.
because I had come from unpleasant parents.
I understand that.
And I said, I just told my husband, I said, somebody needs to be there for those girls.
Yes.
And so, because I was honestly thinking about not going back. And I said, somebody needs to be there for those girls. Somebody
Yes.
needs to show them unconditional love.
Mm-hmm.
Because after I had talked, because I had worked with that, my first day I was there for 12 hours. So I had worked, talked to a couple of them and, didn't get the gist, the gist of everybody's story, but kind of, got what it boiled down to. And I was like, somebody needs to show them some unconditional love. That somebody actually does love them, no matter whether they've had premarital sex or they've
Absolutely.
tried drugs or,
Yeah.
Teenagers are teenagers.
Yeah, they are. Some things never change.
No.
All right. So, after working there a little while, what were some of the things that you saw that stand out in your mind?
Well, let's see. The biggest thing that it was the December after I started working, because I left in August. Well, I was fired in August.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah, because that is very interesting.
Yes, and we want to hear about that.
But the biggest thing that sticks out in my mind is when there was a girl from North Carolina brought down. I had the day off.
Okay.
They had called my mother-in-law. Said, we need Angie to give us a call.
Okay.
I called them. Who was it? I think it was Wanda they had called.
Okay.
And so I called her and she said, we need you to come in. We got a new girl. She's got a spit guard. We cannot fill out her profile because we can't take the spit guard off of her face.
Okay.
And we need somebody who can get up and take a picture of her and nobody else has a phone. Okay. Well, I had a cell phone, a flip phone, but it had no service on it.
Gotcha.
So that's what I did. I went in, she said, well, we need you to stay, and help Miss Kathy. Okay. I got there, and when I saw her, I went because I had talked to Wanda, and then I went in the back room with Wanda, and I saw this girl who was handcuffed to a bunk bed.
Wow.
Spit guard on her face. They said she had tore transport up when they went to go get her.
Wow.
And transport had stopped at the sheriff's department, got a spit guard, just in case, she was HIV positive or whatever.
Of course, yeah.
So I was told, Miss Kathy and I were talking. There was a couple of the other students there, higher ups, upper levels. I said, well, what are the handcuffs for? And they said, she's threatened the life of the students, she's threatened the life of the staff, we can't take them off.
Gotcha.
And I was like, well, what about, going to the bathroom? They said, well, we can uncuff her and have to cuff her right back.
Gotcha.
And I was like, if she's threatening to kill somebody, I'm not going to the restroom with her. I'm not.
Yeah.
They say, well, we just need you to take a picture of her to see if it could go through the spit guard.
Gotcha.
Okay. I did, but,
Do you think that her having this spit guard and being handcuffed to this bunk bed was the right thing to be doing, or was it just...
The spit guard I could understand.
Gotcha.
Just for, in case she had HIV, she was HIV positive. The handcuffs, no. I mean, she was probably maybe 5'6", and about this big around. She was, no.
You had talked about some of these other staff that you were working with. Do you think any of them had any credentials or any background that warranted them working with teenagers like that?
Well, I know that, and what I say now is just speculation.
Yes, ma'am.
But from what I was told by Miss Kathy, she had no credentials whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
Miss Leola, no credentials.
Nothing, huh?
I think maybe if they had any kind of training, it was probably like what a bounty hunter would do, you know, about the same amount of time. You know, one day, maybe 2, that's it. But that's clearly speculation.
Were you ever made to hand out corrections while you were there?
Yes.
What did you think about that?
I thought some of them were ridiculous.
Like what?
Being too loud. You know, granted, I can understand being too loud in a room full of 30 girls, because there was a time where they would get a little loud and I would ask them to quiet down and they couldn't hear me because they were so loud, so I would have to yell at the top of my lungs, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all, quiet down. A little bit louder than that. But some of them were so ridiculous that half of them I didn't even enforce if I didn't have to.
Gotcha. I think that's great, actually.
Like if one of them didn't, and let's say for instance the girls that were there because they had low self-esteem, you know, putting them in a place that serves nothing but carbs and high fat and sugar, and no exercise is not the best place.
Not at all.
It's not the best thing to do for them. And then making them pick up a correction because they don't want to eat everything on their plate, you know, that was a little ridiculous to me. And there were girls that, you know, they would come by and show us, you know, that they had eaten, and some of them I did see, you know, had put their grits in a cup, or, you know, I was just like, you know, I don't like grits. I'm not going to sit there and write somebody a correction for not eating their grits. That would make me a hypocrite.
I agree. I remember eating those grits myself. And, they weren't exactly the best.
No.
Did you ever eat any meals there?
Oh yeah. Every time I was there, I ate.
So you kind of got it.
There was a lot of tortillas with lunch meat and cheese on top, wrapped up together and, you know, made into little sandwich rolls. There was a lot of those. I remember going home every night, just about. Well, we had sandwiches again.
You had talked to me earlier about how Cisco had stopped delivering. And when that happened, what did they do to feed the kids there?
They were going to Sam's Club.
And getting what?
Getting groceries there. I don't know. I mean, they would have lasagna.
Okay.
You know, the big pans of lasagna. That's the main thing I can remember them having is the lasagna, because there was always at that point. From what I was told, Cisco stopped coming because they couldn't afford to pay them. So they started going to Sam's Club.
Really?
That's what I was told.
While you were there, was Narvin the sole owner?
To the best of my knowledge, yeah.
Did you ever meet Narvin?
I saw him from a distance, but I kind of got an idea of how he was like, just hearing staff talk, you know, about he's not, something about DSS said that he could not be on the premises by law.
Yeah.
And that they would be there, they would come in the middle of the night when nobody would notice that they were there. So I just kind of didn't want to be around him.
I don't blame you on that one. I've been around that guy, and he is not somebody I want to actively put myself around. No. That's for sure. No. Okay, so of all of this, and other than the girl that had the spit mask, is there anything else that stands out in your mind that you will always remember?
2 things.
Okay.
And it goes back to the girl with the spit guard.
Okay.
The next day, my car broke down. Okay. My husband was coming to get me, and he would come up to the dorm, and my car had broke down. He came to the door, you know. My husband was pretty large, tattooed. Not the school's definition of somebody that should be there.
Gotcha.
There's actually 3 things.
Okay.
The girls that seen him thought that he was an escort.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And they were trying to you know, see who they were bringing in. I was like, no, that's my husband. Yeah. And the reason why I bring that up is because, and if my husband was alive and sitting here, he would be able to tell you as well as my mother and my stepfather. A tow truck had to come and get the car.
Mm-hmm.
And the girl in the spit guard, because it was the day after she got there, the girl in the spit guard decided to run, and Miss KK was on top of her.
Wow.
And Miss KK was Kirby.
Yes. I actually did know her.
Yeah.
I
So,
do kind of remember
yeah.
her.
So, you know, and my husband was just like, I cannot believe that woman sat on that little girl.
Just sat on her.
Yeah, just sat on her.
Wow.
The other incident was, and it doesn't pertain to the kids per se, but there was an incident that my husband came and got me early from work, and they politely asked him to leave.
Why would they do this?
He was a little perturbed, to put it lightly.
Okay.
I had not gotten paid for 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah, I'd imagine.
And he
yeah.
said, no.
Yeah.
He said, no, I'm coming to get you right now. And, you know, when he got there, and my husband had a temper. And he said, I'm coming to get you, and we're going. And I was like, no, I can't leave. My shift isn't over yet. And he was like, I don't care. You are not working for these people for free.
No.
And I told him, I said, well, when you get here, I said, don't. And his temper was never aimed at me. It was always aimed at, you know, the people that that was the cause of the situation.
Of course.
And he said, I told him, I said, when you come here, I said, you know, I said, don't come in, don't raise hell, you know, just, I'll come out to the car. And I said, because some of these girls have come from, you know, unsatisfactory situations, and I don't want them triggered.
No.
You know? And he said, that's fine, but you are not staying any longer. So I got out to the car. Miss Wanda had come out, wanted to know what the problem was. I said, well, I haven't gotten paid. And he's pissed. She said, well, he's going to have to leave. And I was like, fine, but I'm leaving too. Well, your shift isn't over. That's what she said. Your shift isn't over. Well, I'm sorry, but, you know, until you pay me, I'm not coming back.
Yeah.
Got home. 10 minutes later, Miss Denise called me and said, we have a check right here in the office for you for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I was like, okay. Went and picked it up, went to the bank, cashed it, and she said, I don't want this situation to happen again. And I said, well, you know, if you keep paying me, it won't happen again.
That's right.
You know. So, and there was, and the third incident was when a couple of the girls decided that they was going to try and burn the dorm down. And that didn't go very well.
What exactly happened?
I don't know for sure exactly what happened. All I know is from my perspective, I was with another staff member. We were doing breakfast. Apparently one of the girls' jacket had come into the mail. Her parents had brought her jacket or sent her jacket.
Okay.
Miss Tara was supposed to look through the pockets and everything, and apparently she didn't, and there was a lighter in there.
Oh, wow.
And a couple of the girls decided they were going to try and set fire. 2 other girls, while we were at breakfast, said, you know, we need to talk to you. They told me, and I told Miss Betty. Miss Betty went up to the dorm, and she said it was just smoke, because they had done it, I believe, under a sink and had closed the cabinet doors.
Oh, wow.
So it was just smoking. But I mean, it could have gotten way more out of hand than that. But that night, again, I had to go in, and I worked with Miss Kathy.
Okay.
That was the day that everybody picked up a correction. Everybody. It didn't matter if you were lower level, upper level, mid level. It did not matter. You were picking up a correction, and some people picked up 2 or 3.
For what?
Oh, let's see. First, they were told they could have journals. Then they had to pick up a correction about having journals.
Really?
One girl had too many stuffed animals on her bed. Let's see. I can't even. Quite a few for manipulation.
Really?
Quite a few for run plans.
Run plans. I remember that one. Oh yeah, I remember that one.
There was one girl, I believe, had too many tubes of toothpaste in her basket under her bed. And let's see. But the incident that really, really stood out that night was Miss Kathy, and I've always been able. The only thing I can ever associate it with was it was almost cartoonish.
Okay.
She was taking, while everybody was asleep, she was taking these corrections and she was putting them in a pile and picking them up like they were money. She looked like the cartoon old fat man, you know, just like sniffing the money. And yeah, that's kind of like what she was doing. She was like, you know, and it was just like she had this very malicious look on her face.
Like she enjoyed what she was
like
doing.
she was loving it. Like she almost got off on it.
Do you feel like the other staff members that you worked with enjoyed handing out these corrections and enjoyed holding people back?
I think so.
Really?
There were a couple of staff members that did not need to be around the kids just because their attitude about things just was not.
Gotcha. Do you think that they had bad attitudes, like because they? Like, what do you think about that?
I can only speculate that one, and I was told this numerous times by a couple of people, was on heroin.
That doesn't shock me at all.
And she would leave. She would be fine. She would leave for a smoke break, you know, go out to the driveway, come back, and like she would just be really touchy about things.
Gotcha.
You know, like one of the girls was the girls were watching a movie one day, and one of them was laughing, and she leaned over to her and just put her head on her shoulder like this, you know, and all of a sudden she jumped up and she was like, "Don't touch me like that, don't touch me, I'm not gay." And I was just like, calm down, woman, just calm down. And one of the staff members that actually told me about her had basically accused her of stealing about $1,000 of her tax money out of her purse. That day. So
I want to ask this, what I want to touch on. How much were you paid to work there?
$9 an hour.
$9 an hour.
$9 an hour. No insurance.
No insurance.
No accidental death insurance, you know, and I'm sorry, but if you're working in a place where so-called, you know, teenagers who are about to go to prison, you know, you should be offering your employees some, you know, accidental death. I mean, we were told not to even wear earrings because one of the staff members had an earring ripped out.
Wow.
So, you know, $9 an hour, and it wasn't even a full 40 hours. It was, I came in when somebody needed the day off. If somebody had a doctor's appointment, you know, I'd go in and fill in for them. So I was basically a fill-in. You asked me about something that stood out in my mind.
Yes, ma'am.
And something else just occurred to me.
Please tell us.
And I know some of the girls, and I'm not going to mention any names, some of the girls that were there when I was there, I know they remember it. There was an incident. The girls had been able to go outside, and they were playing sports.
Okay.
Two of them had to go outside because one of them had lost her glasses, so we had to look for them. The dorm was fine. Everybody was talking, you know. they were sharing, with their bunk buddies, and that was it. I walked outside with the two girls. We found the glasses, came in, and the whole dorm had erupted. And it was Miss KK and two other girls. And, she was just going on and on and on about her, about what she believed. And basically what two of the girls had been doing was they were meditating. One was showing the other one how to meditate.
Okay.
And she, from what I understand, all she had said was, let your energy flow into the floor, down into the ground. And as soon as Miss KK said that, she freaked out, accused them of practicing witchcraft, accused them of Satanism. And after that night, I was not on the schedule to go back for 6 weeks. When I went back, Miss Teresa actually met me outside in the garage and asked me about the incident. And I said, well, I don't know what started it. I said, I was outside with so-and-so and so-and-so looking for so-and-so's glasses.
Yeah.
I said, I came back in, Miss KK and these two other girls are, getting into it.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I have to ask. And I knew she was lying. She said, do you practice witchcraft?
She asked you that?
Yeah. She said, I said, that honestly is none of your business.
No.
I said, and you do not have to ask that.
No.
You cannot by law ask me that.
You can't ask. No.
And she said, well, if you answer that way, that means that you do. And I told her, I said, it doesn't matter whether I do or not.
Right.
I said, I don't know what happened. I said, but maybe KK needs to be talked to. She said, well, we've talked to her, and she admits that she got a little carried away. I said, a little bit?
Yeah.
A little.
Yeah.
Okay. But I told her, I said, it is none of your business whether I do or not. I said, and even if I did, I would not talk, and I do not talk about my personal life to these girls.
Yeah, and
because my personal life is my personal life.
That's right.
Not theirs, not their business, not your business, not anybody else's business, because I don't bother anybody.
That's right.
And so, but yeah, that was one of the incidents that stood out to me.
I want to ask somebody you had mentioned earlier, what interactions did you have with the directors, Elaine and Denise?
Denise, I only talked to that one time.
Okay.
When she called me and told me they had my check ready.
Okay.
And then when I went to go pick the check up,
Okay.
that was the only time I remember talking to her. And Elaine, I had only seen, not actually talked to, until the day that I left.
Really?
And I didn't really talk to her. I just more or less talked at her.
Okay.
The day that they fired me, I was packing my stuff up to go, and I dropped one of the binders.
Okay.
And papers went everywhere. I started to bend over and pick it up, and then I was like, fuck it. I'm not doing shit.
Yeah.
And I walked out, and as I was walking out, I just said in a very calm voice, I said, give them hell. And walked out. But before that, and as I was leaving, I heard Elaine yelling, what did she say? What did she say? And one of the girls was like, I don't know. But I think Elaine had come in and basically, told me, because of what you did, we can't have you here. It's a breach of contract.
Gotcha.
And we'll get into why I left in a minute.
Yeah. Well,
But,
I want to get into that a little later. But right now, I want to ask you, what are some things that you saw Elaine do that raised red flags? Oh, yeah, huh?
The one that stands out in my head,
Yeah.
when I would be leaving at night,
Okay.
when my husband would pick me up,
Uh-huh.
as we were leaving, her daughter, it was her daughter, was backed up, had her car backed up to the cafeteria, the kitchen doors in the back of the cafeteria, and where the freezers were outside.
Really?
And taking food out to the car.
So this was Elaine's daughter, granddaughter, somebody, her family, right?
Yes. That did not live on the property.
Did not live on the property.
Did not work.
Did not work on the property. I don't really know this girl's name, so let's call her Kimberly.
Okay.
We'll call her Kimberly. Did you ever see Kimberly doing anything else that was questionable like that?
Not that I can recall.
Okay.
And of course, because I had asked, when I went back in, I was like, somebody was out there the other night, and they were like, oh, it was, Kimberly getting food out of the freezer.
So Elaine just let Kimberly do this, huh?
Yeah.
Blatantly.
Yeah.
And people saw this and just turned a blind eye.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So you think that Kimberly was taking food right out of those girls' mouths, huh?
Out of those girls and those boys, but yeah.
And just letting the parents front the bill for that, huh?
Yep, pretty much.
I don't put that past those people, not one bit, because that just sounds like something they would do.
Mm-hmm.
And having known these people personally, it does not surprise me at all.
Right. No.
Did you ever sit in on any of the seminars while you were there?
No.
Okay.
No. I think because of the incident with Miss KK and the two girls, because that was shortly after I got there.
Okay.
I got there in September. I believe this was maybe early to mid-October.
Okay.
Because it was starting to get chilly outside. I think because of that, they kind of wanted to limit my time. I think they may have thought that I was a bad influence because from what I understand, what I was told was they had never had that problem until I got there.
Working with these girls, did you ever see them denied feminine products?
Yes.
How did that go?
Girl came up to Miss Kathy,
Mm-hmm.
and one night she said, Miss Kathy, she said I started my period. She said I need a tampon, and Miss Kathy specifically told her, well, if you get one, you'll have to pick up a correction for manipulation and
Really?
a correction for runaway plans.
I don't know what to say to that. How did she figure that? Like, how did Miss Kathy figure that?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even. I'm not even going to try to go into the mind of Miss Kathy because that's just. No.
All right. While you were there, did you ever work with the male staff or see any of the boys while you were there?
Saw the boys up and down, walking up and down the driveway, the girls would be coming back from breakfast, going to the dorm. The boys would be going from their dorm to and the girls would have to stop and turn around, and which I was not comfortable with because none of the male staff would ever tell the boys, don't look at the girls. I mean, there's guys ogling, girls' backsides, and none of them, I would tell them, a couple of the other staff members would tell them, just eyes ahead.
Really?
But male staff, no. Now, the night that the girl in the spit guard got there,
Yes.
Mr. Kinney had come in to the boys' dorm, and Miss Kathy had me go ask him if he could be on standby in case something happened.
Gotcha.
I walked in and two of the boys were playing video games.
Do you think that the boys were treated just better than
Absolutely, yes. You don't even have to finish that question. Yes, I do.
Do you think that the program itself intentionally made things harder on the young women?
Yes.
How so?
I think they had to be more accountable for more things than the boys.
Really?
I think it was meant to I think it was meant to degrade them,
Really?
to make them feel like they were less than the boys.
Gotcha.
I don't know if it's because of the way Narvin believed, or if that's just how he saw women,
Gotcha.
or if he just, I don't know. But I do think that's why the girls had it harder than the boys. The boys, as a matter of fact, when they started going to Sam's Club, the boys were allowed to eat first, and then what was left over was for the girls. Because according to Narvin and the upper staff,
Yes.
boys eat more than girls. So the boys would get to eat more, and then what was left over the girls got, because girls don't eat as much as boys.
I'm gonna have to disagree with that one, but you know, that doesn't surprise me. That just sounds like typical what was going on there, even when I was there. And to hear that it just continued on for so long after I left,
Yeah.
does not shock me at all.
No.
Okay, so Angela, you had told us earlier that you were fired. Do you mind if we talk about that?
Sure.
Okay. Why don't you tell us what exactly happened that you were terminated from CSA?
Okay. The girls from Ivy Ridge.
Okay.
Ivy Ridge was closed. The girls came down to us.
Gotcha.
One of the girls turned 18.
Okay.
Her parents had picked out the exit letter, and it basically said that she could not go if she didn't go to the program. If she chose to leave
Gotcha.
and not finish the program, she could not go to her mother's house. She could not go to her father's house. She could not get anything from either one of their houses. That was hers. They would not pay for her a plane ticket, a bus ticket home. She would have to go to a shelter, and they would not send any money. And she told me, and she was from New York, you know. And I found out later that her parents, because I was in touch with her parents and her biological sister, you know. And they had the impression that she's from New York, she doesn't have a phone, she doesn't know anybody in South Carolina, you know, she's going to stay there. And she told me, she said, I am not staying.
Yeah, I know how that goes.
And she had talked to KK. KK came to me, said, I can get some money around, you know, together for her. I can, you know, give her some clothes, but she doesn't have any, I can't keep her. And I said, well, and the idea of a young girl in the middle of nowhere, you know, on the road with, you know, God knows who is following, you know, who is driving down the road, did not bode well with me. And so I went home and I talked to my husband, because I'm a caring person. I talked to my husband. I was like, she doesn't have anywhere to go. You know, she just needs somewhere to stay until she can get in touch with family somewhere.
Gotcha.
Up north. And he said, well, as long as you know, as long as it doesn't hurt your job, as long as it doesn't affect your job, that's fine. So I had, one of the other girls had already left. Her name was Suzanne. She had left, and I was telling her about it, and she said, if she wants to leave, I will come up from Columbia and pick her up and take her to your house. And I was like, okay. So I told Miss KK, and Miss KK was all for it until the day of.
Of course, that's usually how things go.
And Gabby and I had already talked. You know, I told her, I said, I talked to Mr. Chris, my husband. I said, he said it was okay for you to stay with us. You know, I said, but you have got to promise me. I said, because we cannot keep you up, you know, for very long. I said, but you've got to promise me that you will get in touch with somebody in your family as soon as you can. She said, absolutely. You know. So I told her, I said, well, Suzanne said she would come and get you. She said, okay. And I told Suzanne, and Suzanne and I made plans. And Suzanne said, well, this is what I'll do.
Gotcha.
I'll come up to your house, and because I was scheduled to work that day, and I told Gabby that morning, I was like, just don't come around me a whole lot, don't talk to me, and we didn't talk to each other very much, unless we had to.
Gotcha.
And I said, and one of the other staff members had planned on being in on it, but she kind of had second thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
and I was worried that she would tell Elaine or Wanda.
Gotcha.
So I had told Gabby in front of that staff member, you can't do it. She got upset, and or she acted like she got upset. But I told her, I said, when you hear the phone in the dorm ring, that's how you know that it's Suzanne.
Okay.
She said, okay. So I left that day, or that night, got home. Suzanne got there a couple hours later. I got in the car, and I did tell the truth. I did tell the truth when Wanda asked me if I had come and got her.
Gotcha.
I said I did not step foot on CSA property after I left that night, and I told the truth.
Yes, you
I did not get out of that car on CSA property. I got out of the car to let Gabby in at the road.
All right.
So I did not, under any circumstances, lie about that. Just so everybody's clear.
Gotcha.
But anyway, Gabby was on MySpace, talking to cousins and her aunt trying to get away home.
Mm-hmm.
Her mom had called the dorm, or had called up to CSA because CSA had, Tara had told her, she's not here, she left. And excuse me, her mom called the police department, was very insistent on they find her daughter. They said, well, how old is she? And she said she's 18. They said, well, there's not really a whole lot we can do. And she said, I want you to find my daughter. I don't care.
Yeah.
I was told later that was the only reason.
Gotcha.
So, of course, they saw her MySpace had been activated, tracked it to my house.
Really?
And that was pretty much it. So Wanda fired me.
And that was the end of your time at CSA?
That was the end of my time, August 1st.
Wow.
I would have been there I would have been there a year the next month.
I want to ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably what a lot of people who went through that school are wondering, that they would like to get to ask somebody that was a former staff member.
Right.
You saw a lot of what was going on, yet you continued to work there. What would you like to say to people who have always wanted to ask a former staff member that, why you stayed?
It wasn't a matter of some of us didn't do anything.
Gotcha.
Some of us couldn't do anything. I was in a financial situation. This was, I was a high school dropout with a GED and 2 years of college.
I understand.
And my options were very limited. And needing a job that had a flexible schedule, for doctor appointments or whatever. And I knew that if I tried to do anything, not only would I be fired,
Yes.
but I would be blackballed, basically. And that when I left, that is exactly what happened. They drug my name through the mud. They told the girls there that I was a drug queenpin, which obviously not, that I'd been in prison for drugs, that I was taking pictures of the girls and arranging meetings with men in person after they left.
So they were running around saying all
Yeah.
this with no real proof, right?
No real proof.
Okay.
No real proof.
No proof at all. Because I figure that if you were arranging meetings like that, there would have to be some sort of evidence of that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not something that there's not paper trail evidence of. I mean,
No.
not this day.
No. No.
And you really don't strike me as a drug queen pin at all.
Man, if I was. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I have never, ever.
Gotcha. After working there, is there any part of that job that you feel like you've carried with yourself ever since?
The girls.
The girls.
I love my girls.
I've been getting that sense. I really have.
I love my girls. Some of them, even after they left, got in touch with me because they remembered me. And some of them, I got one of them their first full-time job.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Took her in.
Well, that is so great that you were able to do this for this person.
Some of them still call me mom.
And I think that's great too.
Yeah.
I feel like you really were there and you really did care, but
I did what I could, but sometimes I feel like I didn't do enough.
Do you have any regrets for anything that you did or didn't do while you did work there?
That I didn't.
That you didn't do enough? Well, Angie, I want to say thank you, but before we end, I want to ask you 2 more questions.
Mm-hmm.
If you could talk directly to the administration and the other staff there, what would you like to say to them?
How in the world, and I'm using my nicest possible words, how in the world could you take a message that these girls, that these kids needed, like low self-esteem, and pervert it the way you did and treat them the way you did, when all they needed was love and attention and somebody telling them that it was okay, other than a staff member meeting with them for an hour a day. How could you do that? And then charge their parents astronomical amounts of money. How? How could you let these girls and these guys go without shampoo?
Yeah.
Or, body wash or soap? Or how? How could you possibly do that and think that it would not scar these children? These children. And how could you allow a company to come in and legally kidnap them from their homes and not think that it would not scar them for life? Or that they would not need therapy afterward? How could you do that?
If you could talk directly to former students of that school as a former staff member, what would you like to say? If you could talk directly.
One thing that I was told, and it may make it sound trivial, but some of the girls that I've talked to, I've told this to, and they have held it, some of them have held it to their heart. When life gives you lemons and you make lemonade, family and friends are what sweeten that lemonade.
Gotcha.
It's the sugar in it. That's what makes it more bearable. But for God's sake, please, 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 if you have issues with it, if you have mental health issues to begin with, go to a therapist, talk to somebody, it doesn't matter who, but don't live in the past, because it just makes it worse. It just makes it worse.
Angela, I can actually agree with that because, for a long time, I'm going to tell you, I went about a lot of things in the wrong way. And,
Yeah.
I admit that.
Yeah.
I do. Not all of it I regret.
Yeah,
Not all of it.
I think
Some of it I stand by to this day.
Matter of fact, I was telling one of the girls that lives near me.
Mm-hmm.
She she was talking about her time at CSA, and I told her, I said, but I said, had you not gone there, I said, you wouldn't have me, you wouldn't have your sisters, and the ones that I'm closest to that call me mom. You know, I tell people I have 15 children, 1 biological son and 14 daughters.
Wow.
You know, and even the ones that I don't talk to anymore, you know, that I talk to on occasion. When my husband passed away, there was a few, because there was a couple of them that were daddy's girls. You know, they called him daddy. And I had them listed as our daughters in his obituary because he was close to them. And, you know, but I told him, I said, if you hadn't been there, you wouldn't have me, you wouldn't have your sisters, and you would not have the support network that you have.
Well, thank you so much,
You're
Angela.
welcome.
And thank you, everybody. Trey Bender, Program Stories. And this is Angela. Thanks, guys.